be a good priest. Yeah, I think that's what people need. They need priests and priests of quality. I hope and pray that when that day comes, I'll have worked all my way out to make a good priest out of myself. I pray for that.
My own hopes, I think, is just to remain prayerful, because it is through prayer that I'm able to be in unison with God Himself, in unison with the triune God, because without prayer, I cannot be in unison with the threefold office. And it is just by this relationship with God, I'm able to touch other people's lives.
Meet Zambia's newest seminarians, well on their way to becoming priests for Zambia, a country where vocations for the priesthood and religious life are exploding. Only with the help of donors like Canadian supporters of Pontifical Missions Societies can Zambia keep up with the growing desire of Zambian men who feel called to the priesthood.
We are overwhelmed. It's a blessing, but at the same time, it is a challenge. How do we get these young people through formation to priesthood life, to consecrate life?
The church needs good priests, so we as Pontifical Missions Societies are part of this overall performance in the area of formation of the clergy. We are involved in the running of the minor seminaries. Each seminary gets an ordinary subsidy. We are offering also subsidies to the major seminaries every year. We also offer extraordinary grants to seminaries for renovations, refurbishment, enlargement, provision of water and other utilities, means of transport, and all other things that we require in order to have a conducive atmosphere to promote proper formation for the priests.
Having completed their minor seminary studies at Emmaus Spirituality Center, the seminarians are now working through the 8-year seminary preparation that follows the Emmaus introductory level.
St. Augustine's Major Seminary is the second stage of formation in the formation of the Catholic clergy in Zambia. The students who come here, they have already done 1 year of discernment spirituality in Lusaka at an institute called Emmaus Spirituality Center. We offer 2 years of philosophy and theological studies. At the end of their study, they get the diploma in philosophy as well in religious studies.
The students now are helped to study philosophy for 2 years. Besides the academic formation, there is so much that happens in the school. There is a segment that looks at the spiritual growth of these people, but there is also an aspect that talks about their human development. They should grow into mature and responsible young people that can offer something very substantial, very concrete to the life of the church.
The final 5 years of training are the ones which are done in St. Dominic's. The whole training is 8 years, with the 4 years of residential training in St. Dominic's and 1 year in the field.
This is the last part of the seminary formation. They might be good with their academic performance, spiritual performance, which are very important, but there's also need to have a priest that is able to take care of the needs of the parish. Our seminarians have time every week to go into the garden, learn how to grow crops, cabbages, maize, carrots, and other vegetables. These are very easy things to grow. So we expose our students to this possibility that they have the capacity to do so much. They can also empower the communities that they'll be serving. So it is part of their formation.
Getting the mix of the academic, the practical, and the pastoral just right is the secret to the success of Zambia's priestly formation training. For the students, the challenges come in several unexpected ways.
Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. When they come here, our courses tend to push them to their limits, to question what in actual fact they had already always more or less taken for granted. The students are coming from different Christian backgrounds in terms of their levels of faith, their perception of Catholic teaching, But we know that they have not had the chance to really critically look at what they believe in, what they think is the faith that they ought to have their ground in.
Like what St. Paul says, when I was a child, I thought like a child. Now that I'm an adult, I think like an adult. Do you realize that it's all grounded in the philosophy of Aristotle, when he says life without meditation is not a life worth living?
As seminarians, it's good for us to have that critical thinking. Before I did philosophy, I had that innocent faith whereby I couldn't question anything. Whatever was just presented before me, I could just take it up. But philosophy gives us that critical thinking, asking the whys and the hows, how things come to be, like quoting the words of Leibniz, one of the philosophers, who said, "Nihil est sine ratione," which means nothing is done without reason.
Perhaps nothing is so challenging as the pastoral ministries that the young seminarians take on, where every week they are expected to visit the sick and the despairing and find a way to offer hope and the message that even in suffering, God is finding a way of manifesting His love.
The challenge that I find is that how do we preach Christ to people who are in such conditions? One really has to understand the soul in that person. Our work is to help those patients understand how God is really manifesting Himself in their lives. Because God has got so many ways of manifesting Himself in people's lives.